All right, I think we're going to go get started. So welcome everybody. I'm sure the room will fill up in the next minute or two, but for right now, I think it's a good time to get going. We're nothing if not punctual today. I have a friend of mine here to introduce the introduction to. He's introducing the introduction to the Lightning Talks. Jeff Gignard, he's the head of ABLE BC, and today he's here in his capacity as the head of the BC Hospitality Foundation, just to talk a little bit about what the foundation does. Take it away, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sandra. I really appreciated you letting me take a couple of minutes to talk to these folks, and I really appreciate you for being so relentlessly goddamn amazing. I've been tuning in and out of the conference today, and it's fantastic. You've done an incredible job. As someone who just did a virtual conference, I know exactly how hard this is. So yeah, I'm Jeff Gignard, and I'm coming to you live from my apartment, which also doubles as the headquarters for my day job as Executive Director of BC's Alliance of Beverage Licensees. And I'm also the pseudo-chair of the BTAP group, which has been responsible for a lot of liquor policy recommendations in the last few years. And I'll be honest, my 2020 goals did not include turning my living room into a home office, but then it did also not include such preposterously ambitious ideas as staying out of the morgue, or growing my beard a bit longer, or taking calls from government officials in my pajamas. But you know, 2020. In any case, I want to talk to you a little bit about the British Columbia Hospitality Foundation. We're here to support workers, hospitality workers specifically, in times of medical crisis, in times of financial crisis due to medical issues. So not COVID, but everything from broken bones to car accidents to cancer. And I know a lot of you know about us already, because this year in particular, we've had a lot of applicants that came from the manufacturing sector and also from the Okanagan. So you probably know someone who's been helped by us. If you really want to understand the importance of the work that we do, I can't sell you on that any better than Jocelyn, the brave and charismatic woman that is featured in a video embedded in this software. If you haven't yet, please take 2 minutes to hear her, listen to her story, and she will tell you what it meant to her that we were able to stand beside her with a helping hand when she needed it most. What I can do, though, is tell you we need you now more than we ever have. Part of how we raise funds to support people is through events. Now events are pretty much canceled. So we're doing more things like lotteries or monthly donations. And I'm looking at the screen right now. We have over 100 people on here. If you guys chipped in $5 a month each, we'd raise $6,000 a year, which allows us to help one or two other people when they're in a financial crisis due to a medical condition they're facing. So that's my one ask for you today. You can also contribute to our scholarship funds, and that would allow us together to identify and support our industry's future leaders, because we all have an obligation to pass on, right? So just remember, this is our industry, this is our charity, and we need your help so we can help those who need it most. If you have questions about it, or if you want to talk about any other liquor policy issues, drop me a line, jeff@ablebc.ca, which I'll put into the chat right now. And with that, thank you, Sandra, for letting me take a couple of moments of everyone's time, and I'll turn it back to you for an exciting panel.
Sure. Thanks so much, Jeff, for being on. And I am not going to be speaking for too long. Hopefully some of you were with us last year in person. What's coming up for the next hour is what's called Lightning Talks. So they're 5-minute talks on different topics. You don't necessarily know what the topic is before it hits you. I highly recommend having your phone ready if you need to take a picture of the screen. Some of them have math on them, so you definitely will want to take a picture. Some of them just have a lot of information on them. And then secondly, the Lightning Talks are, although they were pre-recorded by everybody that you see up above, they were still forced to set up their slideshow to go forward every 30 seconds. And so if you were there last year, you'll remember how difficult it is to give a 5-minute presentation when the slides are on automatic. So the slides are on automatic and they are speaking to them. And what'll happen is we will run through these lightning talks. There'll be 8 of them. And then when we're all done, everybody will, who's on the panel right now, will unmute and we'll take questions. So if you have questions while they pop up, I highly recommend you write them down when they pop up, because you'll forget them 5 minutes later. All right, so I'm going to mute myself, and then we are going to be off to the races with 2020 lightning talks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Rickett. Today's lightning talk is carrying on versus in decline, a few takeaways and trends I've observed from the COVID pandemic. My name is Paul Rickett. I'm principal of marketing, a consulting company specializing in channel management. And I also run Bowen Beer and Wine Cellar, a medium-sized LRS on Bowen Island. Doesn't look like this today, but we're especially known for the high proportion of BC craft products that we sell. We all experienced a seismic shock with the advent of the pandemic, and the aftershocks continue to ripple through and will for some time to come. But it's not all bad news. Total alcohol litres sold here in BC year to date are up 5.6%. Every major category except one recorded growth in every quarter of the year. The pandemic has caused short-term issues for manufacturers for sure, but I'm optimistic that we'll look back on this as having been an opportunity for positive change through pivoting. Structural changes have been driven. Some will be short-lived and some will be longer lasting, impacting product and consumer trends. Everyone had to adjust, especially during the deep COVID period, March to May. For many, this was a radical pivot. For others, more of a change of emphasis. Kudos to government here because they made fast regulatory changes to keep people in the game as long as possible. But pivoting, it's a fact of life. The hottest category, undoubtedly, is spirit-based coolers, which grew in every quarter of the year, even in the depths of the pandemic, and are up 50% over the year. There's many new entrants to this category. It's a revolving door of flavors and changing consumer tastes, and limited time tastes at that. But if you're thinking of entering this as a distillery, cidery, brewery, or winery, it's very challenging because there's limits on shelf space, and it's very hard to get established, but there is opportunity. There's also a silver lining for brewers in this, I think. Brewers took a big hit in that deep COVID period and dropped 2% over the whole year. It's the only category to lose ground. The major manufacturers had huge can shortages, which forced them to cancel whole brands to keep the main ones flowing, which gives BC brewers a silver lining. Micro brands move readily from pub to home, and consumers have really adopted regional and micro brands. Wine and alternate packaging. Alternate packaging refers to everyone, not just wine, but it's in wine where we've seen the biggest change. As soon as COVID hit, my sales of boxed wine shot up by 400% and have consistently remained at that level for the rest of the year over 2019. It's a hot area, but it's not just boxes, it's also pouches, tetras, cans, whatever. There is lots of scope for alternate packaging. Show the love. It's been a tough year, hospitality especially. Wineries did well with DTC, direct to consumer. They really improved their performance there. But all channels are customers too. So yes, while you're sharing the love with and sympathy with a hospitality, you also need to recognize the contribution that retail made to keeping you whole, or as whole as you became. And that's really important because you need to keep products flowing after the fact when hospitality recovers. Life has changed. Structurally, maybe. We work from home more, and that may not change for a long time. So that's changed where people buy, how they shop, when they shop. It's impacted even how pubs operate. They sell more earlier. It's got government changes, which will probably stick. And hospitality gets wholesale now. So the economic incentive for focusing on hospitality versus other channels is no longer quite as compelling as it was. This means that balance becomes a strategic priority. You really need to focus on how you grow the business and where you grow it. and you have to make efforts to address. If you're high on retail, you definitely want to get more hospitality and vice versa. But this is going to be a very, very important thing as we move forward, because you never know when the next pandemic's going to hit or what other pivot's going to be needed. And the people who were more balanced did much better at surviving the pandemic. Lastly, the biggest takeaway, Dr. Bonnie Henry's words: be kind, be calm, be safe. And we all need to take a lesson from that. So the very best of the holiday season to you all, onwards and upwards in 2021. I wish you all well. And if you have any questions, comments, please email me, pdrickett@gmail.com. Thank you, and have a great virtual Fortify.
Good afternoon. I'm Ellen Walker-Matthews, Vice President of Stewardship for the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association. And I'm talking to you today a little bit about building tourism resiliency as we move through the COVID-19 pandemic. As most of you know, the Canadian tourism sector has been disproportionately impacted, as Ben Cowardour from Destination Canada so aptly said. We were hit first, we were hit the hardest, and we will be the last to recover. Yet the tourism sector in Canada clearly hasn't given up. And we know that through the summer months, we did see some positive numbers in some locations, not many locations, but in some locations, and some that expressed the fact that they had done better this year than for many years in the past. We can look at this graph as we're studying along the months. We get regularly weekly impact studies, and the worst of it was April the 19th, where you can see we were 82% behind last year. Most recently, we're at 11% behind last year, but it's maintained a pretty steady negative impact throughout the summer months, with just a small blip as we got into September and again at the beginning of October. So this really tells a story. Sources of stress for Canadians related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Certainly, when will the pandemic end has been a big one at 17%, and that's growing all the time. Social isolation for many people at 16%, and definitely worry for families' health, safety, and economic well-being at 15%. And this is a little bit dated from the summer, but we are seeing these numbers change, and we'll continue to report on where those numbers are going as we move into the fall and winter time. As part of our tourism resiliency program, we initially launched a number of surveys and kept those going all summer long so that we could get an understanding of what our businesses were feeling, who was open, who has reduced operations, and who wasn't going to open at all. And you can see by a number of these graphs that things were pretty dire. We had many businesses telling us that they were unable to pay their bills. They were unsure if they would be able to stay open or to reopen, lost a tremendous amount of revenue. And while that got better as we got into September, it's still a long way from being okay. That caused us to launch the Tourism Resiliency Program. And with that, we are in the response phase, which we continue to be. Even though we've moved a little bit towards recovery in the summer, we still consider ourselves in response. We initially launched our emergency plan, reached out to industry to understand challenges, communicated to government daily and weekly through calls about what was going on and what needed to change, and connected to industry to support with resources, tools, webinar, and education. The program has some key plan areas, including reopening to bring protocols and ways of reassuring both the public, the resident, and the traveler. We've tried to connect businesses with financial support. We've provided advocacy through government and other lobby groups. We've helped business to pivot. We've connected industry together, and we've supported it all in a variety of languages so that all of our stakeholders had the opportunity to be supported through the Tourism Resiliency Program. We know in the summer that there were travel motivations that included climate and weather at the top of the list, visiting family and friends, which people missed tremendously over the spring, and definitely saw history and heritage as well as outdoor activities, a big motivator for travel. We did see people have varying degrees of where they felt it was safe to travel to other provinces. And that again is changing as we get into this fall and winter period. And we'll be continuing to post that information and showing you it online. We hope this week you might consider joining us November 25th and 26th for the 2020 AGM and Summit, jointly hosted with ourselves and the Caribou Chilcotin Coast. It is a free summit this year, so there's no reason not to attend, and a great lineup of speakers. We've got 12 panels and 6 keynote speakers, all talking about where we've been, where we are, and certainly where we're going, and the best ways and some of the ways that we might be able to get there. So again, we hope that you might join us at the summit this week. Thank you for listening to me. We do have the Tourism Resiliency Program ongoing. If you'd like to sign up, it's free. You can reach out to me at industry@totobc.com or recovery@totobc.com, and we'd be more than happy to help you.
Good afternoon, Fortify participants. My name's Al Hudak from Ferris. Ferris is a regionally prominent law firm with offices in Kelowna, Vancouver, and Victoria. And we are the proud recipients of the recently of the Regional Law Firm of the Year award. Today, I'm talking about thinking about selling your winery, things to be thinking about. What are your exit alternatives? One is you could do nothing, die in your boots, so to speak, or wait for a serendipitous sale, but wineries don't sell themselves. Intergenerational transfers, everyone aspires to that, but they don't usually work out. Either the next generation doesn't have the interest or doesn't have the aptitude. So an orchestrated sale process is what you should be thinking about, and that's what I'm talking about today. Now is a very good time to sell. There's very strong sale activity recently in the Valley. There's multiple categories of buyers looking for opportunities. We've had 10 years of unprecedented economic growth, but it looks like there's storm clouds ahead. There's a shortage of high quality vineyard, and general economic conditions are very auspicious for a sale. And thinking about pricing, pricing is as much of an art as a science, but basically there's two ways to value a winery. If it's a profitable business, value it at some multiple, 10 times, for example, of adjusted EBITDA. Or if it's not so profitable, then price it on an asset basis, take the appraised value of the vineyards, the depreciated book value of the land and equipment, and the accounting costs of the inventory. Most small wineries don't do a good job of managing their profitability. They track revenues, but they don't try to track margins by SKU and sales channel. So they don't have the data to perform the analytics necessary to maximize earnings. Once you come to the realization that $100,000 worth of additional earnings can translate to $1 million increase in the sales price, it inspires you to do what you can to maximize the profitability of your business. How do you get started in the sale process? Number one, talk to your accountant about the tax matters. Can you can a pre-sale reorganization reduce your tax? Is there a preferred sales structure? Then hire a deal broker, either an accountant or a real estate agent, and hire a good lawyer knowledgeable about the sale process. Sale process, in essence, starts with a meeting between the buyer and the seller's principals, followed by a review of financial and operating due diligence, and an indication from the buyer of some indicative pricing, memorialized in a letter of intent, at which point an exclusivity period starts and you go into due diligence and drafting of a formal agreement. Some of the due diligence issues that come up are encumbrances on title, the need for a phase 1 environmental report, a investigation of the health of the vineyards, investigation of whether there's any constraints on the development imposed by the Agricultural Land Reserve rules. A new issue that's coming up is water, because the new Water Sustainability Act is intensively now regulating underground water. If you get a deal, then you got to be sure to try and minimize any post-closing price adjustments. And there are a lot of those. First, you do a final inventory count. There's typically a working capital adjustment. But beyond that, an astute buyer is probably going to extract in representations, warranties, and indemnities from you that could lead to post-closing adjustments. Again, I'm Al Hudak from Ferris. I'm living most of my time in Oliver, BC, but I bounce back between our Vancouver and Kelowna offices. I do both purchase and sale of winery businesses and a lot of regulatory advising. Happy to just brainstorm with you on the phone on any regulatory issues that you may have, and happy to be engaged on a purchase and sale agreement opportunity, but get me involved early. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Erin Secker, and today I'm sharing some strategies for managing stress. I work for the Canadian Mental Health Association in Kelowna and lead our workplace training and advising social enterprise called Thoughtful. I have a master's in education and achieved the CPHR designation this year. Your industry is particularly close to my heart as my partner is a master of wine and our entire social circle is made up of winemakers, cellar masters, and vineyard managers, so I'd love to increase my professional collaboration with the sector. Let's start with what causes stress. There's some pretty obvious examples, such as money, interpersonal conflict, the seasonal nature of some work, such as harvest time, the environment, such as wildfires or too much rain, physical safety from confined spaces to COVID-19 to dangerous vapors. Of course, your work and home life can interfere with one another, and various rules and regulations are always changing. But there are common threads throughout all of these, such as the impact of change, communication or a lack of, and our perception of these stressors. What is actually at the heart of stress is whether or not we feel we have the skills and resources to cope with the event or the situation, often even more so than the situation itself. For example, if you're sourcing grapes or grain and a grower comes up short, that's going to be stressful no matter what. But let's say you're well established, you can easily pick up a phone and call someone else in your network to make up for the shortfall, or you can up the production of something else and your bottom line won't take a big hit. You'll move through that situation differently than you would if you were new, had no network to lean on, and were already in serious debt. So we can't cut out every bad thing or challenge in life and work. That's unrealistic. And when we try to control everything and everyone, we get more stressed, more exhausted, angry, and eventually maybe even hopeless. We've probably all experienced that boss or coworker who micromanages, who you're afraid to talk to when something isn't going well, or maybe we've been that person ourselves. Stress management is about taking control of what we can, but letting go or reframing the things we can't control. We're talking about resilience and empowerment, but also efficiency and strategy. If you're someone who regularly thinks that nothing gets done right unless I do it myself, that might be a sign that clarity in leadership and expectations could use improvement in your workplace. This could look like communicating priorities and having reasonable timelines, empowering staff to ask for help when needed, or to ask for help yourself, delegating and improving trust among your team, or maybe even practice saying no sometimes. Clear leadership and expectations allow a team to work with purpose and reduces the stress of unknowns and mixed messages. Often when we need to take care of ourselves the most, that's when it's the hardest to do. But there are no quick fixes. Real self-care can be hard work. Self-care is carving out the extra 10 minutes to cook up some vegetables, even when takeout seems easier. Self-soothing, on the other hand, is sitting in your PJs and watching 8 hours of Netflix or reaching for that third, fourth, or fifth beer. It feels good at the time, but likely doesn't have a long-term benefit. Self-soothing has its place, especially as we deal with something as big as a pandemic, but we need to be honest about how we're actually taking care of ourselves. When you're stressed, if you catastrophize or you go to the worst case scenario, does genuine feedback feel like a personal attack? Our thoughts are the story that we tell ourselves. Sometimes they're true, but sometimes they aren't. We can challenge unhelpful thoughts by remembering that most people, including ourselves, might not be at our best right now, and try to have some compassion and empathy. You can also draw on past experiences. If you feel like you can't cope with the situation, maybe you've actually gone through something more difficult before, and you can use the same skills and strategies again to get through this moment in time. One of the ways to shift your workplace culture is through role modeling. Walk the talk and encourage healthy strategies across your team. Most workplaces say that work-life balance and self-care are important, but then they praise, reward, or promote the folks who are reachable 24/7, who never take sick days, who are the first ones at work and the last ones to leave. It doesn't matter what you say as a leader if your actions don't line up. And lastly, avoid the temptation to micromanage. It'll take longer in the short term to coach staff, but it's going to save you time in the long run. You might know that there's certain times of year, certain times in a production cycle, or possible events on the horizon like acquisitions. If you do, include stress management and employee mental health as strategic priorities. Changing how you manage stress and building psychologically safe and healthy workplaces are a process. None of this is something you just check off a list and then you say that you're done. And lastly, if you reflect on your personal values and those of the workplace, it can help to guide you in how you prioritize, what you say yes or no to, and keep everyone on track and working positively in the same direction. So I hope there's a couple good takeaways or reminders for you today. If you want to learn more, you can reach out to your local CMHA branches. You can also go to our website that's at the bottom of the slide, thoughtful.cmhakelowna.com. That's thoughtful with 2 L's. We have a free 45-minute virtual course introducing you to mental health at work. There's also a website called Workplace Strategies for Mental Health with free resources. And for personal wellness, Bounce Back BC is a free course and telecoaching service. And Discovery College Kelowna offers free virtual courses on self-care, resilience, and more. Thank you for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Badrina Gaudensi. I'm a Swiss solar tech here in Summerland, British Columbia. We've been around since 2001 and I'm here to chat a little bit about solar power to you. All right, why go solar now? Countless studies show that now is the time to switch to clean renewable resources to build a sustainable world and future for generations to come. Solar allows you to make your own power, reduce your carbon footprint, and be a role model in your community. People always ask, well, why now? Why not wait till new technology comes out? Simple answer, there's always going to be the next greatest invention to come out or newest technology. But if you go solar now, you can fix your electricity rates and protect against unpredictable increases in electricity costs and start your financial return on investment right away. You can always upgrade as you go down the road and add to your existing solar array. The new Canadian Building Code says that you have to build solar ready and be energy efficient. So make sure that when you're building, that you have a panel that can hold the usage that you're planning on having, that your conduit going from your electric panel to the roof can hold a tech cable, and check with your city with shutoff requirements, as well as plan on having good south roof exposure. So when you're drafting your building plans, make it so. If you have an existing home, be sure to first and foremost have your heating, cooling done efficiently, your LED lighting put in, roofing and windows and doors properly insulated with ventilation. And a roof can have at least about 8 to 10 years left on it. We can still put solar on that. And if you do need to replace the roof, it's about $2,000 for us to come in one day, take it off, come back in once you re-roofed and put it back on. So there's not a huge expense. If you do need to re-roof, it's definitely possible. This is an example of cost. I'll just run through it quickly here. It's a quick slide. So it's always tough to say what the normal usage is. It's stated on there kind of a rough average. So if you install a 9.6 kilowatt system, it will produce around 13,000 kilowatts a year, which is a 2,500 square foot home, about the average size, about the average usage of a home that size. You're going to invest around $23,000, and the utilities will increase their rates about 45% a year. Your return of investment, considering all that, is about 10 years. Added bonus, property value goes up. It's actually better to do a add-on solar rather than doing a kitchen renovation. So save your dollars and doing a kitchen renovation and put up solar instead. Thinking outside the box here, if you don't have roof space, put it on the ground. Any sort of sloped flat ground is fine. Pole mount. Pole mounts actually get you 35% more as it tracks the sun and the snow falls right off of it. So in wintertime, you make quite a bit more. We specifically specialize in making really state-of-the-art carports and patio covers. We work with designers, builders. You dream it, we make it. There's lots of tax benefits available to you there. There was a little link on there to the tax benefits available. Again, talk to your accountant about that. Not sure, each person's a bit different. Technology has changed a lot over the last 5 years. It's come from 200 watts all the way to 425 watts. Monocrystalline panels are ones that have one type of silica in it. Polycrystalline have many types. Monocrystalline are the ones that are much more efficient now, and that's where the most advancement has happened, going from 15% efficiency to 22% efficiency now. Many brand names available, including Canadian Solar. Most parts come from Asia and then get assembled in Canada, such as Canadian Solar, Trina, Hanwha, QCell, and many other ones that we use. Most panels have about a 25-year linear output warranty, meaning they should reduce an efficiency 0.05% a year, and after that, after the 25 years, reduce a little bit more. But they last you a super long time. Inverter technology also around the 25-year mark, but they will need to be replaced probably in a lifetime. Your solar panels will last longer, is what I mean, than your inverters. So your inverters might need to replace in lifetime of a solar array, which a lifetime is about 40 to 60 years. Going a bit quick here, oh my goodness, bifacial panels. This is where the most technology advancements happened. So they take the sun from both sides, the top and the bottom, creating about 30% more efficiency than a monofacial panel, just getting it from one side. So again, you dream it, we design it. You can make all sorts of carports, patio covers with those panels. So thank you for your time. Super quick here. We deliver expert advice and service for commercial residential systems to suit your needs and budget. We install on any type of solar roof, pole, ground mount, or where we specialize, as well as carports and patio covers, like I mentioned there. So give us a shout. We do free on-site solar evaluations, and we'd be happy to see what we can do for you. Of course, socially distanced during these times. Reduce your carbon footprint, save on your utility bills, and let the sun power your home or business. Time to go solar now. All right, thanks guys. Have a great day.
Hello, Fortify. My name is Gary Brooker. I'm one of the co-owners of Barn Owl Brewing in Kelowna, BC. And as a brewery that's only been around for less than a year and a half, it's an honor and a privilege to have been asked to give a lightning talk for today on branding being foundational. To many, they look at us and they think in a short period of time, we've created a unique and pretty recognizable brand within our industry. And it's not been without some help from a lot of others along the way. And we don't have it all figured out. So I'm hoping today you'll be able to take something away for your brand and your brand recognition under the title branding being foundational. Before we ventured to brew one single beer, we met with the marketing and branding veteran in Kelowna who gave us some very good advice. As you start to create your brand, It's so foundational that before you even pour the floor, figure out who you are. Do some things. It's not just about the logo. And so I ask you to look at your brand today. Is it just about your logo? What else is contained within your brand? And I'm going to throw some ideas at you today, help you reflect on that. Asking the basic question, who are we? It might seem very obvious, but being intentional about asking about your product. Who's your audience? And what are the values behind the products and the experience that you're offering? It's all part of your brand because it's more than just the logos. For us, this 93-year-old lady having her first flight on our patio with her daughter and granddaughter was part of who we were, what we valued in this place in terms of bringing people together for a craft beer and the experience. When you ask that question, what sets us apart? Because that's part of your brand. You know, we've been told we're one of the most Instagrammable breweries. Well, that's only a part of who we want it to be. We wanted it to be about the whole experience. In a world where there are literally hundreds of wineries in our province and hundreds of craft breweries and cideries and more distilleries, what's going to set you apart? And I got to say that I'm so thankful 2 years ago when we attended Fortify that I went to a breakout session with Pat Dick from Cannery Brewing, and she talked about your story, the story being integral to your brand and how it helps set you apart. And so we had to reflect on what our story was, and it helped us set the course for our brand. A doctor, a teacher, a church worker walked into a barn and the rest was history. That is part of our story. We really wanted to create a place in our community that would be not only in a heritage barn, but it would be this place where the community could gather, sort of neighborhood pub / brewery. In a recent study by Gallup that looked at branding in organizations and businesses, they asked some basic questions of how people could maximize their brand. And what came up repeatedly were these 3 points. To maximize your brand, your employees had to be a part of that brand. That a great brand is sustained by a great workplace. And thirdly, that there was a consistent customer experience that would deepen trust in your overall brand. And so how do you interact with your customers? What modes are you using? In what ways do you interact with them? And what are they feeling and experiencing when they are experiencing your brand, your products, what you are offering? Here's a picture of a large family spending part of their COVID summer at the barn. How do they feel when they experience your brand? And so when you look at your customers, how are you interacting with them through all the ways that you do that? How are you interacting with your community, your fellow businesses, other people in your industry? All part of your brand, all part of your image you're putting out to the world. For us, we wanted to be an organization that gave back. And so we've done a number of projects with the Central Okanagan Food Bank, where we use some of their stale bread into our brews, and then we give $1,000 back a tank to them. It's about $1 a pint for us. But it's one of the things we wanted to be our branding into the community because it's how we interact with them. And finally, logos and products, well, they flow out of your overall brand, your story, your employees, your products, your values. Your logos and products just flow out of all of those things. So for us, including our employees in our logos and products has been really important. Including our customers into that part of our brand has been important as well. So to ask the intentional questions about our logos and products flowing out of or dictating our brand. And as the sun sets on the barn, like this picture, so the sun setting on my lightning talk today, and I hope if anything, it's just given you a little taste of that branding is so much more than a logo. It's part of your whole story. It's how you interact with the world. And on the dawn of a new day tomorrow, that you might be able to look at your brand with new eyes.
My name is Richard Dittmar. I'm the president of the Trialto Wine Group, and I'm really happy to be here today to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the relationship between the producer and the sales agency. Trialto has been in business for 23 years. We manage about 75 winery relationships, and this is something we place a great deal of importance on. The foundation to success is really the foundation of a healthy relationship. There's a lot to touch on here, definitely more than I can cover in a 5-minute topic, but I'm gonna kind of go through some of the things that we consider most important, that we pay a lot of attention to, and I've learned over my 30 years in the business. First up is to really ensure, if you're a newer business, are you ready for that relationship? Are you prepared to hand off the responsibility for sales and marketing, or sales alone, off to another party? Let someone else carry your flag, carry your brand out to the customer and out to consumers. So just be sure that you're at that stage, and this is what your business needs. So assuming that you're ready to go and you want to engage a sales agency, we take a look at what we consider the 5 pillars for success in that relationship. The first couple of pillars are really the softer part and super important, but softer part around who you are and what makes you tick, and the same for your sales agency, kind of understanding, do we fit in that business? And we're going to touch on each of these in a little bit more detail. But if you go through this, chances are it's going to set you up for a successful relationship with your sales agency. So the first thing you really need to be able to articulate, of course, your story, who you are, but your vision for success. What does success look like to you? If you can't articulate that, it's going to make it a real challenge. You're certainly not going to know when you get there. And ask the sales agency, ask your new partner, potential partner, what does success look like to them? And do you have a shared vision? And is that, are they giving you the right answers that fits your business? The values piece, who you are, what makes you tick, what do you believe in, what do you want to fight for, what are you passionate about? Spend time talking about that. And again, just like a good job interview, make sure your sales agency is feeding that information back to you as well, telling who they are and what they're all about. And it doesn't have to be a perfect match. You don't have to align on every spot, but you really have to be able to respect each other's core values. And you're going to talk about fit and look for fit. Do you want to be in a larger agency with lots of reach and lots of resources? Do you want to be in a smaller agency? Do you want to be in an agency that focuses on your product set or your set of the marketplace? Or do you want to be in a broader portfolio? Channel focus, those kind of things, size, are they on a growth path? Do they want to grow? Or are they happy, kind of where they are? So go through those questions and let's say, you found the right partner and you're comfortable with the fit. You're going to get into planning, just like you wrote your business plan and got your financing and got your business up and running. You really want to adapt your sales and marketing plan to your new relationship with your sales agency. So kind of go through and really understand who's responsible for what, set your goals, make it really clear on strategies. Make sure that everyone's completely clear on your story. And then, that's going to set you up to get out there and get going and get them selling and marketing your brand. Communication, this is the ongoing piece. Like any good relationship, you've got to have good communication, constant, frequent check-ins. Don't leave long gaps of communication and then all of a sudden come out of the blue. Keep it regular, keep it very transparent. Talk about the good and the bad, what's working, what's not working, and talk to multiple people throughout the organization. Keep yourself, keep your brand, your business very top of mind, for the agency. And then, if all is going well, you're going to start talking about and looking at results. How are things going? Whether it's on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis, but really check in on results versus plan. What's working, what's not working. And in there, thanks and appreciation go a long, long way to build that passion. When they do something for you and there's success, celebrate it. Don't just focus on what's not working and what needs to be fixed. So, that's a brief. We just skimmed the surface. I'd be happy to talk to anyone in greater detail. Here's my contact information. Reach out anytime. I'm happy to help pass on my many years in the industry. So thanks, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Hi, I'm Bert Hick, and I know wine, and I also know how to license wineries. When I was general manager of Liquor Control Licensing Branch, way back in the 80s, we didn't have much of a wine industry at that time. It was just fledgling, but it's come such a long ways. And it's got a whole bunch of combination of reasons why it's come a long ways, but we want to see it grow, and we want to see it flourish. And we wanted to make sure it endures and survives international competition, particularly as a result of recent trade challenges and other issues that have happened. We love licensing wineries. In the last several years, we've done a number of applications in British Columbia on wineries. We find them interesting, exciting, and it really promotes the wine industry in the province of British Columbia. So number one, when they come in, they want to see a copy of your winery license. They want to make sure it's posted and in a prominent location, usually around where the tasting bar area is, or in the lounge where the bar area is. Or if it's a restaurant at your winery, such as Brewing Owl, you want to have it where the restaurant area is. It's got to be the current license. You also want to make certain that you have attached to that license the floor plans that are stamped and approved by the local government for occupancy and also by the liquor branch. The other thing that they will do will look to make certain that your floor plan matches what your licensing layout looks like. In other words, they don't want to come in and see that your floor plan approved by the government as this one floor plan, but yet they see this wall here, they see a divider here. They see banquettes built in here where there weren't banquettes. So you want to make certain there are no what they call illegal structural changes that occurred to your establishment. Second thing they want to see would be the serving of rights certificates for all your employees to make certain that everyone serving alcohol at your winery has been certified and are appropriately trained. Next thing you want to have is a liquor registry to make certain that you have a record of all the liquor that you buy and purchase from the liquor distribution branch that you're selling in your restaurant or your lounge area has been bought through the legitimate government channels. This is very important because they're looking to make certain that you don't have illicit liquor on site. A few of the other things that we also find with the liquor branch is they like to see the alcohol sense material. This is material that they produce to encourage moderation, slow down consumption, encourage safe drive home, and to make certain that people are aware of the impact that alcohol can have on them. The other business partner you have is the Agricultural Land Commission. And the Agricultural Land Commission wants to make certain that you're totally compliant with them. And this applies particularly to a winery that is undergoing a structural change or renovation, or is going to be a brand new winery. But they want to make certain you're compliant with the Agricultural Land Commission requirements for wineries. From our perspective, we love licensing a brand new winery. We love taking it from the genesis to completion. We make sure they maximize the licensing benefits they can get, whether it be a lounge area, a tasting room area, a special event area, restaurant opportunities, and just the tour areas of a winery.
All right. I'm not sure if you can all hear me. I think you can. So yeah, that was great. Really happy with how everybody did. If you're a panelist, feel free to unmute yourself if you can and turn on your video so that we can see you. And we'll take some questions. There you go. So I have to tell you, this has been a really tricky thing to do online, and everybody that's on the call today just did an amazing job. And I'm very proud of everybody. In fact, they even got all their lightning talks in on time. So I didn't have to chase anybody down hardly. So it was great. We have a few questions here. So first of all, I have put the link to the PDF for the lightning talks in the chat if you guys want to remember the order that they were in, as well as the contact information for everybody. It's there in the chat. I'm going to start out with a question that is for Al Hudak. Do you have any data on winery sales this year?
I didn't talk to it, but on the slide that is in my presentation shows a lot of sales of wineries. Comuna, Time, Wild Goose, Legacy. There's been a lot. There must have been at least a dozen sales in the last few months, I think.
I'm hoping that's enough for to answer. If not, Randy, just let me know, put it in the chat again. Leanne Froze has some questions. First of all, for Ellen, how do people sign up for the meetings this week that are going to be going on at TOTA?
So I put it in the answer box as well, and I can put it in the chat, but it's go to totobc.org and /summit, and you can register there. It is free of charge, and the lineup of speakers is tremendous. There's 6 big speakers, keynotes that are coming from around the world, and 12 panels. So I think it should be a good couple of days.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah, you see the stress that's happening? Yours is ending and mine is just starting.
And the other question is for Al. What is the Sustainable Water Act?
That's a new piece of legislation that anybody who sources water from an underground aquifer should quickly learn about. It requires the registration of all groundwater wells and establishes a priority of usage to the aquifer. And even if you're only using the well for household purposes, you should register it because it establishes the priority. Google it and you'll see the government has a lot of information out on it.
All right, I'm waiting for more questions to come in. These guys have all been anxiously waiting to answer some of your questions. So if you have them, put them through. I've had some great comments on the lightning talks today, and in particular, Gary, you know, a lot of people got a lot out of your presentation with saying that your logo should simply overflow as an extension of the brand. It's great. So thank you so much for that presentation today. I thought it went really well. All right, so, and obviously if the panelists have any questions for other panelists, I mean, now's your time, because you've definitely got time to pose questions of other panelists right now. You'll have to unmute yourself though. Let's see, make sure that we can do that. There we go.
Hello, it's Bert here. Greetings from Vancouver, wet, rainy day down here. I just want to reemphasize what Jeff said earlier about the Hospitality Foundation. I'm a board member, and the work the Hospitality Foundation does is terrific. And some of the stories we get, some of the cases we get of people who need financial help are huge, and they're really heart-rending. So I would encourage anyone and everyone to look at the Hospitality Foundation, sign up to be a donor, make a contribution, because they really do help people who are on the front lines in our industry, whether they work in a brewery, winery, distillery, restaurant, hotel, who suffer an accident or an illness, who need financial help in their last resort. So anyway, that's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, I want to say I think today's Fortify Conference has been terrific. Thoroughly enjoyed all the discussion, and I really enjoyed the session we've just been in, because I like the flash talks, the quick, easy, short messages, and I think it's been terrific, coming from different angles.
Awesome. Anybody else have a question? All right, you guys are getting off easy today. I think our next session is a breakout session at 2:45, and so make sure. Well, first of all, a couple things. One is if you heard anything from Fadrina today at Swiss Solar Tech, she's has a booth, and so does Bert Hick and Rising Tide. They have a booth along with the rest of the supporters of Fortify who have booths there today. So make sure that you check them out. This is one of the last times you can go speak with people. And then we'll see you back here at 2:45. Thanks.
There's one more.
Oh, wait, go ahead.
There's one more question in the chat, in the Q&A for Rising Tide. Just came in.
Can you ask it? Because, oh, it's over in the question answer. Sorry, there we are.
That's okay. It's for Rising Tide. Any tips for handling public concerns expressed during a public consultation process during a lounge endorsement application?
Well, I'm glad you did that one.
Yeah, if you're the applicant and there are concerns from the neighborhood, you've got to be on top of this. It is a public notification process you have to go through, and you have to make certain that you get out letters of support, and you have to build a community consensus that they don't see it being a problem. And we do find this, and the usual challenges we find with lounge applications, they have to go through a public notification process, all come down to traffic, noise, and parking. And we're working on one right now where the people are going to be going down a small street, small road. Concerns are from the neighbors about people parking on the street to get to the lounge, not adequate parking, possible noise from the lounge because you can have musical entertainment at a lounge. The other one we get are special event areas at wineries. And so you have to have a proactive policy or program to get out and get the letters of support, because most municipal councils, when they have to grant approval, are looking at the number of letters of support versus the letters of opposition. And you want to get in touch with people within the community, and particularly organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, tourist associations, and other neighborhood associations, whatever else you can get to garner support, but you want to meet with the neighbors. We're doing one now in the Lower Mainland, or as we call it today, the Lower Rainland, and where he's going to have some challenges because of the neighbors in the area. And so we're trying to figure out how to build that community consensus, but you've got to get out in front of this, because otherwise they'll come up and bite you when it gets to council. There's a picture of Jeff.
Did you have something you wanted to say, Jeff, before we end?
Nope, not particularly.
We're
Sorry.
good. We're good
Sandra,
then.
I have a
Jeff, you
very
just
quick.
showed up as a
wait.
centerfold on my computer screen.
You're welcome, sir.
We have one more from Al. Go ahead, Al.
I've got a very quick question for Bert. I applied for the transfer of a manufacturer's license in June, and they still haven't really got back to me on it. I mean, the liquor control seems to be nowhere near to meeting their service standards. Could he comment on that problem and what to do about it?
I'm going to get Edna in here, who is my wing commander on winery applications. But we are finding since March of this year, Edna, come on over here, sit down. We found out since March of this year, when the virus really hit, the productivity and the processing of applications in the liquor branch has really slowed down. People are working from home and getting applications through, whether it be a food primary license application, liquor primary, or a lounge application, a winery, have really slowed down. This is Edna.
Hello.
My vice president in charge of licensing, manager of licensing. And she has got several applications on the go right now where the timelines are unbelievably slow.
It's ridiculous. A food primary, prior to March, a food primary was reviewed within 3 weeks of being submitted. Right now, I have 2 that are at 2.5 months, and we haven't even had first contact from the liquor branch on it. So I've actually just put in a call this morning to one of the senior staff members at the liquor branch in regard to this.
Yeah.
Because it's the delays are ridiculous.
But coming back to the wine industry.
But the manufacturing, the online portal that they switched to as of September 15th has just caused havoc because nothing is matching up. You submit your application and it gets lost in the portal. Portal doesn't allow you to make your payments or those kind of things. So you're constantly dealing with the help desk and the tech department on trying to fix the issues that arise. So yeah, the timelines are ridiculous at this point, but I just happened to put in a call this morning to talk to the senior staff member about it.
And what we find really frustrating, Al, in this situation is these are people who are moving forward with applications in these troubling times. And they want to create jobs. They want to grow business, and they want to employ contractors, construction people, and hire people. But yet, we should be encouraging that, but yet the system has really been bogged down. And back in the early 80s, when we were going through a recession in the province of British Columbia, Premier Bill, this is when I was Secretary of Cabinet under Premier Bill Bennett, he used to tell his cabinet all the time, we got to create an environment where we try to fast track people who want to grow the economy. People want to invest in British Columbia. We can't just circle the money around within British Columbia. We got to create jobs. And we had a policy called sympathetic administration where you try and fast track this stuff, but we don't have that right now. It's just really has bogged down in bureaucracy, and there's no rationale for it, other than the fact that they've got a supposedly a huge workload, but they're working from home.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to cut it off just because we definitely have some people that need to head over to the trade show booth. So if you guys have more questions, you can definitely talk with Rising Tide over in the trade show. And I do have Randy Brown on the chat, basically talking about the backlog of 6 to 7 months. So, and by the way, Randy is also in the trade show today, so feel free to visit after this. And again, thank you so much for all your time, everybody, being able to put those talks together. And we hope to have more contact with you in the next few months to come. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.